This meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing on our YouTube channel later. I would like to welcome all the visitors here today. We hope you enjoy the meeting. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a member, please see myself or Ricky Walters after the meeting. I'd like to thank Julio for wearing a lot of hats today. He took attendance, he was our greeter, and he's going to do our inspiration in a little bit. And thank you, Bob, for taking your money. Hi, Bob. Our pledge today is being led by Brad first.
Please face the flag, place the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a little bit of a heavy heart when I do this next thing here, but 3 days ago, 19 elementary school children and 2 teachers were murdered at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. 12 days ago, 10 people were murdered in a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, in a racially motivated hate crime. There have been 213 known mass shootings in the United States in the first 145 days of this year. That's more mass shootings than there were days. A mass shooting is where 4 or more people are killed, not including the gunman or the shooter. There have been more mass shootings this year, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy said in Congress on Tuesday. He represents the district where Sandy Hook Elementary School is located, where 26 children and teachers were murdered in 2012. It was the nation's worst ever school shooting. There were 692 mass shootings in 2021, the most since 2014, when gun violence records started being recorded. Our House of Representatives has bipartisan support for H.R. 8, a bill that will expand background checks for all firearm sales or transfers in the United States of America. Our U.S. Senate does not support this. Congress will be going home for their Memorial Day recess, and they will not return to work until June 5th. Yet 19 dead children, 2 of their teachers from Uvalde, Texas, and 10 dead people from Buffalo, New York, will not be coming home to their families for their Memorial Day weekend. Please use your voice and let our U.S. senators know that they need to quit thinking about their power in themselves and think about our country. Thank you for listening to that. It's We Care time, and that was my We Care. Matt is going to lead. I'm going to invite him, and he is going to provide today's inspiration.
First, you might have noticed that up at the desk, some old annual run badges. So they're free for those who would like to, if you didn't have it from those years run, it's free for you to pick up. Okay, so let me see, so for the last minute preparation, I apologize. So Putin dies and goes to hell. But after a while, because of good behavior, he was given a day off back to Moscow. So he went to Moscow, went into a bar, he orders a drink, and he asked the bartender, "Is Crimea ours?" Bartender says, "Yes, it is." "And Donbass? Also ours? And Kiev?" "We got that too." So Putin was satisfied and put down his drink and asked for the bill. "How much do I owe you?" €5. quotes. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. This is Muhammad Ali. This is from a British writer and a politician some century back. Volunteers do not necessarily have the time, but they have the heart. Something on volunteers again. This is from Sherry Anderson, a Canadian curling champion. Volunteers don't get paid, not because they're worthless, but because they're priceless. This is from Maya Angelou, who's an American writer and a memoirist. When you learn, teach. When you get, give. This is the next one. Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe. Bob Dylan. The Webster Dictionary, the word of the year 2021 is
Coronavirus.
vaccine. That's it, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Now I would like to welcome and introduce any visiting Rotarians in the room. I know there's one somewhere. I know where he's seated. Nancy's going to do this.
Thanks, Nancy. From the Rotary Club of Dublin, in the area of electrician, I'd like to introduce Bob.
Hi,
Bob.
Thank you, Bob. We ordered a badge for you. That hasn't come in yet, huh?
Pardon?
We ordered you a regular badge, so you can have a badge here since you're here. Okay, guests of Rotarians. Can I start with Mark Canis?
I'll project. So, President Bill, fellow Rotarians and guests, it's my privilege to introduce a returning guest who's taken the lead role in Baldwin landscaping and also a lead role at Walovich Architects Group. And happy to announce that she has also already submitted an application for membership. If I could introduce you to Teresa Walovich.
Welcome, Teresa. Any other guests of Rotarians in the room? We have some Zoomers here. Can you unmute them?
Can they unmute themselves?
Larry?
Do we have to listen to Larry again?
No, you don't. Nice being back, though. Nice seeing everyone. Thank you.
You look good.
Amber?
Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
And looks like Jeb's having audio problems. I'm not sure he's gonna say hello or not, but there's Jeb. Hi, Jeb.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Brad.
He looks like he's having some audio problems, so.
Well, this is a really fun time of the meeting because we are going to induct a new member right now. And I'm going to ask our secretary and membership chair, Ricky, to come up here on one crutch. Next week he'll be on 0. And Jake, would you mind coming up, correct?
Perfect. Come on up. Hey guys, this is Jake. Let me give you a little introduction of Jake. We met on Zoom and got to do his already new member orientation. So he's currently director of product marketing at Oracle. He's done a lot of marketing in the past for business software, hardware companies, multiple tech startups. He's been a marketing manager in Europe. He's gonna be great at marketing in our club, I think. This is awesome. He's been married 30 years. His wife's Nancy, and former writer and corporate video producer. Daughter lives in San Diego. She's a media training manager for health services company. And this is pretty interesting. Your son lives in LA and is a production engineer for SpaceX. So maybe we can get his son to come tell us about SpaceX down the road or something like that. That'd be cool. Anyway, he's a youth soccer referee, referee mentor, and does his own yard maintenance. That's what he does for hobbies and interests. He likes gardening. And what does guitar have?
It means try to play, but it doesn't come out too well.
Okay. Okay, it's upside down, buddy. Oh, I see. All right, this is his package that we're giving him right now. Here's here's your new red badge. Remember, I tell you something about what a red blue badge is. Here's your certificate. We want to welcome you as a formal official member of Rotary. And here's one of your several many coming Rotary pins. Y'all switch it. There we go. Great. I'll even give you all that. Great. So lastly, what caused Jake to join Rotary was he wanted fellowship, networking, and community service. And he says he's interested in community service and possibly serving on the Spirit Run for you Spirit Run guys, people. He's in marketing. You could use it in the Spirit Run maybe. So welcome, Jake. Everybody give him a round of applause, please.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Jake. Awesome. Yeah, Jake, do you want to sing it?
Yes, thank you, Ricky. Well, I'm really pleased to be here. That looks like a great group to join, as Ricky said. My interests are in meeting people, fellowship, and I would say meeting people that do not work for my company, Oracle, because I meet with them all the time. I am full-time employed, so, and I do work with people in different time zones, so sometimes I might scoot out just a bit early to get back to my home office. I would also say that the Thursdays is like a very interesting event, and as soon as my wife heard about it, she got very, very thirsty. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm pleased to meet you. I look forward to meeting you.
Welcome.
Kathleen? Oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry. You also get the lovely party gift for playing today. This Rotary shirt with the Rotary pin on it. There you go. Kathleen O'Leary, come forward, please. This is my good friend Kathleen O'Leary, and many of your good friends too, because she's been in the club before. So I'm just going to let her reintroduce herself, and I'm working on your name badge, which we have lost, but I will find again. So somehow that bum secretary of ours lost it. I don't know how that happened.
Excuse me, I'm not prepared for this all. My name is Kathleen O'Leary, and I was a member, and then with COVID and Zoom, I just kind of got bored with it. So anyway, because I love people, I love to be around people, and so I'm back, and I'm excited to be back with you all. And I guess that's it. Oh, but I am a Medicare agent. So what I do is I help people. I'm sort of retired, but part-time. I help people when they need help with Medicare. So I'm an independent agent that specializes in Medicare, and I look forward to seeing you all.
No one here needs that. Sure.
Ricky mentioned Spirit Run when he was talking about Jake, and we don't have a Spirit Run share for our upcoming Spirit Run this year. Janine Henderson, who works for the race company, has provided a proposal to us to be the chair. It won't involve doing everything for the run, but it's going to take care of a lot of the management of the run. We still have to have volunteers working. We still have to do some marketing ourselves. Both foundation board and club board have reviewed her proposal and have said, thumbs up, let's do it. She charges $40 an hour. She estimates that she'll spend 100 to 150 hours. So we'll pay her $4,000 to $6,000 to do that. And if any club member would like to step up right now and say, no, I'll be the chair and save you that money, then we won't go that route. But otherwise, that's the way we're looking. It's going to happen here pretty quickly. Okay, moving right along. It is time for Jim Hansen to take over this podium. He has 3 students to give awards to. And here you go. Thank you, Bill. At this time, I'd like Athena Duran from Amador Valley High School to come forward and bring her 2 students up. Our students of the month for April and for May.
Hello, my name is Athena Duran. I'm one of the vice principals at Amador, and I have Kai Gottschalk with me. I'll talk about him first. So He is a student on our campus, very innovative. He created face shields, PPE gear at the start of pandemic and COVID for our school site, and I believe in Pleasanton Unified. He as well has, he began live streaming graduation last year, and he's going to do it again for us this year. He just put together a lift up video for Amador, which is our entire student body in one shot through the campus. Very, very cool. He's also an Eagle Scout, active in band, and just an all-around great student. So he is April, right?
April, nice to meet you. And here's your certificate, Kai, for becoming Student of the Month of April. And here's a check for $100 from the Rotary. If you'd like to say a couple words.
So thank you all for having us today. It's been really great working with, school staff. All these projects have just been so exciting, and, it's been fun to be as a senior now, to be able to, sort of connect back with all of the people that I have, missed seeing over COVID. But it's been really great to, finally have a lot of fun during my senior year. So it's been really great. So thank you again for having us. Yeah, I look forward to, pursuing everything that I'm planning this year, the rest of the year in high school. And
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, and the other student we have is Grace McNeil. So she is one of our top leadership students on campus. She is involved in pretty much every single big event that is going on campus, as well as supporting younger classmen and students in the class to put together school-wide events. So she is extremely hardworking, so capable. Me and her leadership teacher were just talking yesterday and saying Grace is going to be a CEO one day. She's smarter than both of us, and she's just great. So she really lifts up the school and helps for the campus to have some really positive and cool things happening. So that's great.
Congratulations, Grace. I just want you to know that we have two Graces in the room today. There's our other Grace. So we're all full of Grace here. Congratulations. Here's your certificate for being Student of the Month for May, and here's your check for $100.
I would just like to say thank you for having both Kai and I here today. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm so excited to continue what I've been doing in my future and beyond. Oh, I'm not a good child then. My dad, Blaze, is sitting right over there, and my mom, Susan, is in the back, and she is filming this currently. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate both of your support.
in the back is my mom, Christine. She's been really great supporting me through all these crazy projects. It's a lot of work, so I know. Thank you so much for being there.
Go Dogs. At this time, I'd like to introduce Janice Clark, who's the vice principal at Village, and she'll introduce her student of the quarter.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be back here again. And I want to start with, I have, like Mr. Hansen, worked at almost all the schools in Pleasanton over 25, 30 years, Foothill and on down. And it's a pleasure to be working at Village, where some of our amazing students work hard to accomplish their goals. So of all the thousands of kids who he's worked with, I got to tell you, this guy right here, Chris Weston, is amazing human being for his spirit. You know, when you meet people and within a few conversations, you're like, wow, you're a pretty cool guy. And from then, I've been there for about 3 months now. He is that person. But I did the word resilient, which we all need to be in the world right now. Resilience comes to mind when you think of Chris. So I just jotted down that he has shown his resilience and determination to overcome setbacks, maneuver through challenges, challenging obstacles, and to do what he needs to do to succeed. And all of the Village staff, students, his administrators, love to have him around, and he's around every day. Doesn't miss school. He's there all the time. And not to mention that if you give this kid a ball and put him on any playing field, he could likely be the MVP of that game. I was like, Chris, what? amazing athlete. So, but I'll be brief here because most noticeable again are what his teachers have said, and I underlined a few things, and they're consistent. He has such a positive personality on our campus. Evan, on and on, but I have seen him go through ups and downs, in and out of class, but no matter what happened, he has always been positive and hardworking. He tackles every task put in front of him with determination and always a kind word. That's true. And lastly, he spends a lot of time with you. He's almost always in a great, cheerful mood. That's more than a lot of us can say these days. And she's so proud to be his teacher, and he will really be missed in my classroom at Village. And she's an amazing teacher herself. So anyway, Chris, you're pretty awesome. And I appreciate you coming here today. She was hesitant.
Chris, on behalf of the Rotary Club, here's your certificate as student of the quarter from Village High School, and here's your check from the Rotary for $100.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here. I haven't heard of this, the Rotary Club, and it's the first time I'm here, and it's amazing. It's really great. And I just want to say thank you to Janice for the few times that I knew you. You've really changed my life in a positive way, and same with all my other teachers. And I wouldn't have not been here if it wasn't for you and my other teachers. So thank you. Congratulations.
And how about a round of applause for all our wonderful students? Fantastic. Now we have a couple of announcements, and then we will watch a video, and then we'll run into our program. I will ask Bob Brown to come up here and talk about the poker tournament, and Julio to come up here and talk about club assignments, and Tom Fox, a few words about international service. Starting with one and only Bob Brown.
Woohoo!
We had an absolutely fantastic poker event last Friday night. I know a lot of you were able to make it, so we really appreciate that. The two awards that get handed out are the overall winner, which is not a Rotarian. His name is Chris Seiden. He's a guest of one of our sponsors, so he will get the engraved trophy here for him. And then the highly coveted Rotary Cup. It was actually amazing. We had two Rotarians at the final table, two of our Rotarians. Actually, Josh Cherry didn't quite make it to the final table. But we had two Rotarians at the final table. Anshu was one of them, which first time playing in our tournament.
Wow, way to go.
So, unfortunately, and it chagrins me to say this.
Yes.
My costume.
The whole club. No.
Rotary Cup. He and Anki went out on the same exact hand, but he had more chips than she did at the time that they went out. Rooting for her.
Damn it. Oh, thank you.
We're still finalizing the numbers, and we have an awesome turnout. I'm sure Randy will get us an update next week after we get all the reimbursements in. But it's pretty safe to say that it's probably our most successful event financially so far. So thank you very much for your time.
Just a short note on the weekly duty assignments. Some of you might have noticed we have now combined the greater function with the
Attendance taker.
the registration reception, because when people come in, that is the first place where they announce themselves and make the payments. So I think the combination has worked. Eliminated a little bit of duplicate function. The only thing I'd like to mention is that for that role, because we have to rearrange the tables to make sure that they are aligned like this, facing the podium. And very often when we first arrive, they're not in this order. So we need that person to come in 25 minutes after 11, which is 5 minutes earlier than when people start coming in, to help arrange the tables this way, so that we don't have to go into mad rush afterwards. Okay, thank you.
And Tom's up next.
Well, one of the goals of our President Bill for this year was to have every Rotarian in the club contribute something to RI. That is the National and International Rotary Foundation. And, you know, we all contribute to our local foundation.
Very good,
You know,
very good.
as we've seen in these videos all year, there's a lot going on in the world, and Rotary is just fantastic in the many things that they do, but that takes money. And 49 in our club have not contributed anything this year to Rotary International, to that foundation. So desperate isn't the right move, or right word, but our Pleasanton Foundation, Rotary Foundation, decided that they would come up with a way to do that, so every Rotarian in our club would be represented. So they funded that money ahead for all 49 of you that have not paid that. So we certainly would like you to contribute to the Rotary International more than the $25, or to contribute that money to the foundation. So please step up before the end of the year and take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So we are going to skip our video and our song today because we have a really fascinating presentation from David Stark. So we're going to go into that. I'm going to ask Ricky to hobble up here and introduce him, please. We're old buddies.
So David Stark has been with Base. I don't have his bio, so I'm totally winging this right now. But the funny thing that I'm remembering is a friend of mine who's a neighbor, lives across the street from me, Rich Bichetti. He does the programs for the Dublin Rotary Club. And he's like, Ricky, you guys got to get David Stark every year. He's such a good speaker. You got to get him every year. And I said, Stark? Did you say Tony Stark? Iron Man? No, David Stark. Okay, come on, David Stark. Come on up here. Iron Man, let's go. He is an Iron Man as much as he does this.
Thank you, appreciate that. Good afternoon. It's I'm a little surprised at my reaction being here. This is the second in-person presentation I've made in more than 2 years. And I might get a little emotional just because there's so many faces that I realize I've really missed. So thank you for the opportunity to come out. And I guess I need to stand.
You move wherever you want.
Okay. Hi, virtual folks. I'm kind of more comfortable being on the screen after 2 years of COVID. For those of you that don't know me, I work for the Bay East Association of Realtors. Our offices are literally across the street. And the Bay East is one of about a dozen local realtor associations in the San Francisco Bay Area. They came and got me out of Hayward City Hall in 2005, originally to run their political operations. And over the years, my responsibilities have expanded to do a variety of things, including market analysis. So what I'm going to share with you over the next couple hours is that's hilarious. Is a perspective on what's happening in residential real estate in the East Bay as an aggregation, and more specifically here in Pleasanton, Dublin, and Livermore. And the reason that I'm not talking to you about the national real estate market or the California real estate market, the Bay Area real estate market, those markets are kind of fun to talk about academically, but they don't really represent what you may be experiencing either as a homeowner, or someone who is considering selling their home, or maybe you or a family member is considering buying a home. Full disclosure, while I work for more than 6,000 realtors, including one of them, at least one of them that's right there, a couple right there, Tom, I'm talking about.
One's retired and the other should be.
Yeah. You guys do while I work for many realtors, two of which are friends today, I am not a realtor myself.
So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, there's some folks in this room that can take care of you. I can't take care of you. So let's talk about what's going on in residential real estate. And maybe unlike other presentations I've done for this group in the past, this presentation was not watered down for this audience. This is exactly the kind of market analysis that I've been sharing with real estate professionals over the past few years. So you're getting what I'm sharing with our members. So some of it might be a little technical, particularly when we get into pending sale information, but I wanted you to get what I'm sharing with our members as well. We're going to start the story with me struggling with remote control because literally this is the first time I've used those clickers in a long time. And you got to turn it on. You got to shine a laser at your eye and click this button. We're going to talk about inventory because this has really been the primary character of the story of residential real estate going back several years. And there have been some significant developments in inventory, which is driving the rest of the real estate experience. If we take a look at an aggregation of single-family detached homes that were listed for sale in the East Bay going back 4 years, you can see that we've got some watershed moments here. What I've highlighted here are April, and April. The reason for that is that you can see that based on the seasonality of real estate, there's some major jumps month to month. And I wanted to give you an apples to apples, one more apples comparison. What's remarkable about this is the fact that we're seeing more supply coming on the market after 2 years of sellers basically staying put. And after 3 years ago, when sellers decided now is the time to sell. 2019, which I think was probably the last time I met with you, was a very unique year because for the first time in almost a dozen years, we saw an increase in the number of homes that were listed for sale, and that resonated throughout the home buying and selling experience. Homes were sitting on the market a bit longer. There was actually negotiation between buyers and sellers. By the way, the students, you guys did great. Thank you. And thank you for standing up here. And it's not always a comfortable thing to do. So thank you for being here. And I'll try to keep you awake as well. So I'm falling asleep. Sorry. 1 o'clock coffee should have been 10 minutes ago. But sorry, this is a very serious presentation. I'll be humor.
Not so far.
Yeah. You're not on the move, right? But 2019 was unique because we saw some negotiation. We saw prices actually stabilize. We get into COVID and the world absolutely changed for a variety of reasons. We saw this drop off in options for buyers, and that resonated throughout the market. We see a further drop off in 2021 with a little bit of a late boost here, very late in the year. That said, first quarter this year, there's actually more supply coming on the market. However, we're nowhere near where we were 4 years ago, and this is going to mean something as we get to the end of the presentation. We take a look at what the experience is here locally. In Pleasanton, the numbers are lower because this last slide was an aggregation for the entire East Bay, but the trend is almost identical. You can see that we're well below where we were 4 years ago when prices were stabilizing, when it was possible to negotiate. That said, we're up a bit from where we were last year, although we're nowhere near where we were in 2019. We take a look at Dublin, and again, the numbers are much, much smaller because Dublin's a smaller community. The trend is almost identical. We're up from where we were last year, but we're nowhere near where we were in 2019. We go to Livermore, and this is where it's always important to realize that real estate markets are hyper local. So if you're curious about what you or a family member may be experiencing if you're going to get involved in a real estate transaction, consult a real estate professional, ask about what is happening in your market, even in your neighborhood. What's different about Livermore is a significant increase in home choices comparing April to last year, year before, down a bit from where we were in 2019. Multiple reasons for this. It's a larger market. The price points are a little bit different. You could have some longtime residents that are realizing maybe now, because prices are so high, now is the time to do something. Speaking of high prices, going back to that East Bay aggregation, even though we have more choices, Q1 of this year, we're still well below where we were in 2019, which may explain this. Median sales price for single-family detached homes throughout the East Bay north of $1.44 million, record setting. So even though there are more choices on the market, more supply, the demand for homeownership is still outstripping what's available. We go back to 2018, 844 up to 1.225.
significant increase both of where we were last year and the last several years. That's an aggregation for the East Bay. What do things look like here in Pleasanton? Is everybody sitting down? Take the breath now, okay? Or you may want to exhale so you have some capacity, because here we are in Pleasanton.
Wow.
Right on cue. 1.9 is our median year to date, so for the first 4 months of 2022. 1.7 in Dublin and 1.2 in Livermore. Further reasoning why you may hear about what's happening in the California real estate market, but it's what's happening locally that really matters. Those of you at home, it's what's happening locally that really matters. So it's fun to, you gotta know your audience and where they are, all right? That was more hilarity, by the way, just in case you don't know what the funny stuff is.
Point it out.
It's really, really important to pay attention to what's happening locally. We're not gonna spend any time on prices because they are what they are. What does it really mean for the home buying and selling experience? The true acid test is sales activity. It's fun to talk about prices, but if you want to know where the market's going, you take a look at if homes are actually selling. If we see a big drop in sales activity, that's telling us two things. It's either a specific time of year when we would anticipate sales to slow down, or buyer behavior is changing, or there's a big drop off. So it's actually three things. Or there's a big drop off in supply. So park those in the back of your mind and take a look at that East Bay aggregation. What's remarkable about sales activity in the East Bay, and keep in mind that we are setting records in terms of sales prices, is how resilient real estate continues to be. Not resilient in terms of being super expensive, but resilient in terms of people wanting to purchase homes in the East Bay. We are we are above where we were pre-pandemic, which means that even in the face of super high, eye-watering prices, buyers so far this year haven't been deterred. Now you may be saying, okay, Mr. Man who forgot to put a tie on for this presentation today, I'm wearing pants, okay?
Is that change?
Baby steps. What do you think, Brad? What do you think? If you have to ask the question. For those of you watching at home, I am wearing pants and a belt and shoes that tie. What if you may be wondering, well, what's up with this 2,200 units? Why was there so much sales activity in 2021? Couple things. Think about what you were doing during 2020, or more specifically, what you weren't doing. You weren't spending money. Were you going on vacation? No. We will never be able to use those tickets to Italy on Norwegian Airlines because they no longer fly from the United States. Did I overshare? Am I bitter? Yes and yes. But nor did we spend money in Italy on more Italian shoes. Nor did we go out to dinner while we were there. Nor did we buy a car or anything. We sat at home and played with the cats. And thousands of other potential home buyers in the San Francisco Bay Area did exactly the same thing. So when 2021 came along and real estate professionals had figured out how to safely and legally do real estate transactions again, their buyers who had been sitting on the fence for at least a year, if not longer, took a look at historically low interest rates, took a look at the fat balances they had in their bank accounts, and what did they do? Does anybody want to hazard a guess as to what they did in 2021? Anybody?
Bueller?
Students? Seriously, there's knockout stuff in the beef. They bought houses, and they bought a lot of houses, and they bought a lot of houses throughout the year. So that pent-up demand really was let loose in 2021. So we get to 2022, and guess what? We did see a slightly longer holiday season slowdown, but a big rebound in sales activity in March. But, oh my goodness, we saw a drop off in sales activity between March and April. However, 30 days does not a trend make. We've seen drop offs between March and April in previous years. Does this necessarily mean that buyers have had it? They don't want to pay these sales prices. They're frightened about what may be happening with interest rates. Wait till we get to pendings, because that's going to shed light on that. This is an aggregation for the East Bay. Here's what Pleasant looks like. It's a different story. Our sales activity compared to last year is way down. Why? It's the prices. It's buyer fatigue because of prices. It's not because people don't want to purchase homes in Pleasanton. This is a great place to live. It's a great place to work.
We do have single-family detached homes that allow you to live at home, as many of us did in 2020. It is super desirable, so desirable that buyers can't afford to buy it. You take a look at Dublin, it's a slightly different experience. Essentially, just comparing April to April to April, sales activity has been very steady in Dublin. Why is that? Number A, I know I said number A, not number one. I picked up on that, didn't I? Number A is that the price point is slightly lower than Pleasanton. Number B, the product is different. There are newer, bigger homes in Dublin as well. It's a very, very desirable community. That said, all the new construction that happened over here, that is still being occupied by original purchasers. We won't see that new construction that's really dominated and changed the Dublin skyline for probably another 10, if not 15 years. So those of you that are worried about all that new construction depressing real estate values, either in Dublin or in the Tri-Valley, yeah, you don't need to worry about that because it hasn't happened and it probably never will happen. We look at Livermore and it's a different experience. We see that our sales activity has exceeded pre-pandemic levels. We're down a bit more than we were last year, but sales very vibrant in Livermore. The price point is lower than Dublin and Pleasanton, and Livermore is a great place to live. They got a vibrant downtown. They do have those single-family detached homes that people like, homes with yards. It has really become, in many respects, a destination community, particularly for buyers coming from the 880 corridor and points further west. So what we're not seeing in the face of these, as I said earlier, eye-watering sales prices is a big drop-off in sales activity. We did have a big drop-off in sales activity. Our watershed moments were when the pandemic first kicked in and real estate activity hadn't been deemed as essential. So a big drop off, and we should have been seeing an increase in sales activity in 20, but then it rebounded. It stayed really steady throughout the rest of 20. Holiday break came back on. We were hard on the gas. See what I did there? Got one more second. Hard on the gas all the way up to the holiday season. So we're not seeing these big drop off in sales activity, which tells me the buyers are willing to pay. Or are they? Last thing I want to share with you, last thing I want to share with you is what are buyers in the market? Are they out there? And more specifically, what impact did COVID have on the appetite for people to purchase homes, not only in the East Bay, but in the Tri-Valley area? By the way, I have not taken a breath in this entire years on the master swim from Tommy. Pending sales, what does this mean? We track in the multiple listing service when someone has put in an offer and that offer has been accepted on home. The home hasn't closed yet. Bob, should I still group you in with the real estate professionals? Yeah. Yes? No? Seriously? You've actually retired from real estate? I'm still grouping you in. So there's 3 real estate professionals there. Sorry to up the competition, guys, but you're gonna have to, y'all kind of group together anyway. Big takeaway here is you might notice, especially the students, well, Mr. Stark, Tony Stark guy, whatever you call yourself, why does this say March 20 when everything else was like 19 and 18? We literally did not track pending sales for years because the conventional wisdom is if someone puts a home on the market, it sells and it sells quickly. We started tracking pending sales because we wanted this back in the early days of the pandemic because we wanted to see if people wanted to buy homes. Guess what? They did. So with the notable exception of a drop-off in pendings, an unseasonable drop-off in pending sales that corresponded with the lockdown, as soon as real estate professionals figured out how to do business, guess what? They did business. People ran back into the market. We saw our peak month for pending sales in the East Bay in 20 was actually in the fall. Never seen that before. Typically that's when real estate is slowing down. But all this pent-up demand, it pushed our sales season much later in the year. We get into 21, we see peak pendings about 1,900 units in May. Now we get into 2022. We've got those super high prices. We have concerns about interest rates. What's happening with buyer behavior? We are starting to see some buyer fatigue. I mention this because while our pending sales are down from last year, the choices that buyers have are relatively higher than last year. So there's a mismatch there. There's more choices, but fewer pending sales. This could be the early signs that we're gonna see something closer to a 2019 year. It's not the collapse of the real estate market. It's not the B word, the bubble. It's simply a change in market dynamics to something that's a little bit more balanced. Homes may be on the market a little bit longer. There may be some negotiation between buyers and sellers. And negotiation between buyers and sellers could mean price stability. We take a look at pending sales activity in Pleasanton, and yeah, we're down a bit from where we were last year, but it's not cratering. And what's remarkable is we're above, well above pre-pandemic levels, which speaks to the desirability of homeownership here in Pleasanton. We may not be selling as many units, but buyers are still definitely in the market. We look at Dublin, and it's a similar trend, essentially pre-pandemic levels, down a bit from last year. This tells me that the market is still hot in Dublin. We go to Livermore, and it's an almost identical story. As I mentioned earlier, Livermore is a very, very attractive market for a variety of reasons, and our pending sales activity proved that out, that people still want Livermore. Last thing I'm gonna share with you, and I didn't include this slide, is a home's been on the market on average last month about 11 days. Who said who? Yeah. So while the media screams about, and I put slides up there, 1.2 is our median sales price. 11 days is super fast. It's super fast. Back in the 4 times, the conventional wisdom was that a home would be on the market about 30 days. We haven't seen 30 days in San Francisco Bay Area for a few years. 2019, it was about 2 weeks. But the fact that we're setting records with our sales prices, and homes are moving in a little over a week, that tells me that the appetite is still there for homeownership. We start to see pending sales, or we start to see days on market creep up. That also tells me we might see a shift in the market. I have no idea what time it is.
You're good. You're totally fine.
I don't know if we have time for questions. I'm sounding we don't.
We do.
We don't?
We do.
I'm really sorry that we don't have answer any of the questions. Someone's having a muscle spasm over there. Their hand is up. But if you want to get in touch with me, hit me with an email or shoot me a phone call. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question, just to give you a chance to breathe for a couple seconds. So the question is, what is the degree of impact of versus rising home prices?
So the question for the folks participating virtually is what's the correlation or causation between interest rates and prices? There's a direct correlation, particularly in a market where you have constrained supplies. If you look at what's going to change sales prices in the supply and demand equation, if your supply is fixed, the variable is going to be demand. And the variable within demand is going to be income, and it's going to be the ability to borrow money. I'm getting that. Oh, you want to re-ask the question, or do you want me to go on for 10 more minutes?
Rising interest rates versus rising prices, which is a bigger impact on the buyer's decision?
In this market, I would say it's interest rates, absolutely. And here's why. When I say this market, because when you think about the amount of capital that's out there, particularly for folks in the tech sector, they may have stock options that they can tap into, significant savings. They're looking at, what's the other variable in the home purchase equation? It's, do I spend my own damn money? Sorry about the language, y'all, it's a technical term. Or do I borrow super cheap money? So they're willing to pay the prices. They've got the capital for the down payment. The variable then, and clearly based on that 11 days on market, they're not scared of the prices at all. I'm sorry, they're not scared of the prices at all. But the perception, and Ricky might want to help me on this one, the perception of rising interest rates will bring people out of the market. Absolutely. Because when you think about interest rates have been historically low for how many years, Ricky? 5,
10,
6,
10.
10
Or more. Well,
or more.
we were in the 3s back in 2012, which I never thought we'd see the 3s again, and we went up a little bit, but.
And we knew why interest rates were so low, because it was, pushing the economy along. And the other variable too is when we talk about, even historically low interest rates, but on $1 million loan, that incremental change in just a few basis points, that's a huge change in your monthly payment as well. So it's not necessarily the sticker price, it's what my payment is. That's part of the calculus. Hopefully I answered your question. And hopefully I scared anybody else away from that. Yes, sir.
Prices over listing
Is it tracked? You track that?
We do.
Houses up for $1 million and so for $1 million too.
Yeah, we do track original list price and the final sales price. I don't have those stats for Pleasanton with me right now. They're across the street, literally. If you're curious, anecdotally, I heard this morning from a realtor meeting in Livermore, there were multiple price reductions. Which, now that doesn't directly answer your question because, all right, you have a price reduction, but if it still sells over asking, blah, 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 blah. But when I hear price reduction, I'm hearing that price stability could be coming in. I'm hearing less bidding war. I'm hearing fewer buyers in the market. That doesn't mean the homes aren't selling. They're selling quickly. It's just I'm not hearing, prices being pushed way above us. Thank you so much for your time. Yes, Rick.
One quick question for you. So you hear a real estate agent that you do the marketing with, and they tell you, I have a buyer who tells me, with interest rates going up, and I think the market's gonna, it's a bubble, it's gonna come back. So I think I'll just wait a little while. What would you tell that person who says, I think I'll just wait a little while and I'll get into the real estate market later, who doesn't currently own a home today?
I would tell them to talk to a realtor. I'm not a realtor. I would ask them to speak with an agent who can take a look at what their financial situation is, what they want to do, get professional advice.
What did you tell them, Ricky?
I tell them they're gonna be chasing the market, and the longer they wait, the more they're putting themselves behind the 8 ball, and they're gonna be just cost themselves a lot more money in the future by waiting.
We'll never see these interest rates go up.
I disagree.
I do say though that
6 months from now, you will.
while they're debating about what's going to happen in the trade, my perspective on homeownership is it's shelter first and it's an investment second. And I think COVID-19 really brought that home literally in terms of the need for stable, secure shelter. So while I don't give real estate advice, I do suggest that potential buyers think of homeownership as shelter first, investment second. And with that, thank you so much for your time. Stay healthy, please.
Presentation. I'm gonna ask Bob Brown to come up here and try to give away some money right now. So next week is our first meeting in June, and you know what that means? Means you only have me 3 more times. First, second, and fourth week. So looking forward to running through the end of the race
And
here.
right along with that, please mark your calendars. Tuesday, the 30th of June is the demotion dinner. We're gonna be at Sidetrack.
No.
28th, I apologize. 28th of June, it's a Tuesday night, last Tuesday of the month of June. We will be meeting at Sidetrack, having dinner there, and I will be sending out another email either today or tomorrow to get more detail about that. Just put it on your calendar and we'll talk about it. And if you're someone who's a little humorous and you're able, like Bill occasionally, you want to help me do the skit on the demotion dinner, I'd like a little assistance with that, so let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, Ricky. Bob?
I thought next week was first Thursday. Is that not right?
It's always Thursday. Just not the third one.
403. 403. All right, here we go. I don't go all Bill Burke and try to pull 5 of these out of there. Just one of them. 442. 442.
442?
Yeah. Got it.
442.
Oh, okay. Oh, we got $38.
$38.
All right, thank you. I know Gary and Nancy and G Swag are heading out to Houston. I don't know if anybody else, Bill, are you going to Houston as well? Bob is going to Houston. So when all these folks come back from the RI convention, I'm sure they'll have a few words to share with us. We're adjourned, thanks.
Don't go.